New York Attorney General Letitia James entered pleas of not guilty at her Norfolk, Virginia federal court arraignment today. She was indicted on felony charges of bank fraud and making false statements to a financial institution. In a court filing, James requested a dismissal based on her belief the prosecutor, U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, was appointed unlawfully. Trump appointed Halligan as the interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, and she was sworn into office last month. James's legal team did not say why they believe Halligan was illegally appointed. In a separate motion, her attorney asked that prosecutors be blocked from disclosing information about the case to the news media. The trial was set for January 26th.
But this is not about me. This is about all of us. And about a justice system which has been weaponized. A justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge. This justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge. And a weapon against those individuals who simply did their job and who stood up for the rule of law.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that the annual inflation rate rose to its highest level since January. The agency said higher gasoline prices and housing costs account for the increase. According to data released today, the 12-month inflation rate climbed to 3% in September. That's up from 2.9% in August. Core inflation slowed to a smaller than expected 3% year over year from 3.1% the previous month. Core data excludes energy and food prices because of their volatility. The Social Security Administration says benefits and payments will increase 2.8% for 75 million Americans in 2026. Social Security retirement benefits will increase by an average of about $56 per month starting in January. Over the last decade, the cost of living adjustment increase has averaged about 3%. The adjustment was at 2.5% in 2025. The cost of living adjustment for retirees and disabled beneficiaries is financed by payroll taxes collected from workers and their employers. Social Security begins notifying recipients about their new benefit amount by mail starting in early December. The holiday season is slowly approaching, and the gridlock on Capitol Hill could affect people's travel plans. The Trump administration and Republican leaders in Congress yesterday warned that flight disruptions will increase as the government shutdown enters its fourth week. NTD's Daniel Monahan reports on that and other shutdown updates.
The White House yesterday warned that the ongoing government shutdown could cause delays for air travel as the holiday season approaches.
If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt accused Democrats of playing political games.
And a senior Democrat aide said the party will not end the shutdown, quote, short of planes falling out of the sky.
At present, approximately 13,000 air traffic controllers and 50,000 TSA officers are working without being paid. October 28th will mark the controllers' first missed paycheck, which is expected to cause more absences among workers. The FAA yesterday said air traffic control staffing issues are delaying travel at airports in New York, Washington, Newark, and Houston. Staffing issues were reported at 10 different locations, and ground stops were issued at Houston, Bush, and Newark airports. Flights at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport were being delayed an average of 31 minutes, and delays at New York LaGuardia were averaging 62 minutes. A group representing mayors of more than 1,000 U.S. cities has urged the Agriculture Department to use emergency funds to cover food assistance benefits threatened by the shutdown. Tens of millions of Americans might not receive food stamps and other food aid in November because the shutdown, now the second longest in history, has kept Congress from funding the benefits. The nonpartisan U.S. Conference of Mayors sent a letter to Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins yesterday, urging the USDA to cover SNAP program November benefits. And lawmakers yesterday traded barbs over the ongoing shutdown.
It's ridiculous, and a lot of innocent people are being hurt. People getting food stamps back in my state are no longer getting those, and this is supposed to be a safety net for them.
We will consider in good faith anything bipartisan that emerges from the Senate.
I would say to my Democrat colleagues, stop making people suffer. I mean, real people are suffering right now. Let's stop this. I mean, I don't get it. Stop that, and we'll work on the healthcare thing.
And on the state level, Governor Glenn Youngkin declared a state of emergency in Virginia yesterday to provide relief for residents at risk of losing federal food benefits next month. Youngkin says over 850,000 residents in the state could lose benefits. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Thank you, Daniel. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he's ready to pick up trade negotiations again with the U.S. This comes after President Trump last night terminated all negotiations.
Our officials, my colleagues, have been working with their American colleagues on detailed, constructive negotiations, discussions on specific transactions, specific sectors, steel, aluminum, and energy. And a lot of progress has been made. And we stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to have those discussions, because it will be for the benefit of workers in the United States, workers in Canada, and families in both of our countries.
Carney said Canada cannot control U.S. trade policies, but can control how it builds at home. He said going forward, Canada will be focused on a generational investment and developing new partnerships and opportunities with the economic giants of Asia. In a Truth Social post, Trump accused Canada of fraudulently using former President Ronald Reagan's speech in an ad against tariffs. Ontario Premier Doug Ford launched the campaign ad airing in the U.S., making a case against American tariffs on Canada. This comes before the Supreme Court is set to consider Trump's tariffs on November 5th. Secretary of State Marco Rubio continues his Israel visit today. Rubio addressed military forces this morning. He spoke about the International Gaza Security Force, which will be put in place under the current ceasefire agreement. Here's Rubio.
We haven't formed that force yet, so there's still work going on. There's a lot of countries that are offered to do it. Obviously, as you put together this force, it'll have to be people that Israel's comfortable, or countries that Israel's comfortable with as well.
Rubio added that the future of governance in Gaza still needs to be worked out among Israel and partner nations, but he made clear that it can't include the Hamas terrorist organization. According to Rubio, any potential role for the Palestinian Authority has yet to be determined. He traveled to Israel on Thursday with the goal of implementing President Trump's Gaza peace plan. Rubio arrived just after Vice President J.D. Vance's departure from the Middle East. And Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan also weighed in on the situation in Gaza. He says Turkey's military should join the Gaza Security Force while also playing an active role in the reconstruction of the enclave. NATO member Turkey is one of the most vocal critics of Israel's military action in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hinted that he'd be opposed to any role for Turkish security forces in the Gaza Strip. Erdogan also accuses Israel of violating the Gaza ceasefire deal. The Turkish president is calling on the United States and others to help stop the alleged violations, for example, through the use of sanctions. President Trump also spoke about China yesterday. Trump says the Chinese regime is smuggling fentanyl into the United States through Venezuela. The president says the aim is to bypass U.S. and Mexican controls.
So I'm meeting with President Xi, and I would say we have some big issues, like with the farmers and various other things, but the first question I'm going to be asking him about is fentanyl. And if you think about it, they make $100 million. Think of this. They make $100 million selling fentanyl into our country, $100 million. They lose $100 billion with the 20% tariff. So it's not a good business proposition. It's $100 billion approximately that they have to pay. It's a big penalty to make $100 million.
Trump will meet Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping next week as part of a trip to Asia. The president departs for Malaysia late tonight and will also visit South Korea, where he'll meet Xi next Thursday. FBI Director Kash Patel told lawmakers earlier this year he had spoken to counter-narcotics authorities in China. Patel urged them to restrict exports of more fentanyl precursor chemicals. The Chinese Ministry of Public Security within the Chinese Communist regime in August added 7 chemicals to an export control list, 3 of them central to producing fentanyl. We'll keep you updated on that story. The United States continues attacking drug traffickers who are trying to smuggle narcotics to the United States. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth reported the latest strike this morning. Hegseth says the Department of War carried out a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel operated by Tren de Aragua, a designated terrorist organization trafficking narcotics in the Caribbean Sea. According to the Secretary of War, the vessel was traveling along a known trafficking route and carrying narcotics. The strike was reportedly conducted in international waters. 6 male narco-traffickers were aboard the vessel during the strike. They all died in the attack. Hegseth says no U.S. forces were harmed in the strike. And Alaska Airlines says it's restoring operations after a nationwide technology outage grounded flights across the country. The outage yesterday also affected its regional carrier, Horizon Air, triggering a temporary ground stop. The airline apologized for the disruption and urged travelers to check their flight status before heading to the airport. Flight tracking data showed about 100 fewer Alaska Airlines planes in the air compared to last week. It's the latest in a string of IT issues for the airline, including similar groundings in April and July. The airline says it's working to get flights back on schedule, but warns delays could continue as aircraft and crews are repositioned. And the Trump administration is warning California and other Democrat-led cities over their response to federal immigration enforcement. Speaking on Fox News yesterday, Attorney General Pam Bondi responded to former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot's vow to unmask ICE agents and publicize their identities. Take a listen.
She will be getting a letter from us tomorrow to preserve anything that she's done, as well to make sure that she's not violating the law. It appears she is. You cannot disclose the identity of a federal agent, where they live, anything that could harm them.
Lightfoot said she wants to create a real-time archive documenting all purported criminal actions of federal agents for the public to view. The Justice Department also sent letters to several California leaders, including Governor Gavin Newsom and Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, warning them to stop trying to impede federal officers. Pelosi earlier said that state and local authorities may arrest federal agents if they break California law. The DOJ says any interference with federal officers enforcing immigration laws is illegal and futile. Bondi says her office is prepared to bring charges if state or local officials try to block federal agents from doing their jobs. And an illegal immigrant from India is accused of causing a fiery crash that killed 3 people in Southern California. Federal officials now say the truck driver involved should not have had a commercial license. And a warning, this report includes footage some viewers may find disturbing.
A 21-year-old semi-truck driver is accused of being under the influence when his rig slammed into several vehicles on Interstate 10 in Ontario, California earlier this week, killing 3 people and injuring 4 others. Investigators say Jashanpreet Singh, an Indian national, entered the country illegally in 2022 and later obtained a commercial driver's license from the state of California. Dashcam video suggests he never hit the brakes, and police say toxicology tests indicate he was driving while impaired. The crash involved 8 vehicles, including 3 other big rigs that were involved in the collision, and left at least 6 people injured, in addition to the 3 who were killed. Homeland Security officials say Singh was first stopped by the Border Patrol in California's El Centro sector in 2022 and was released pending an immigration hearing under the Biden administration. 2 of the 3 people killed have been identified as Clarence Nelson, a former assistant basketball coach at Pomona High School, and his wife Lisa. The White House confirmed that California issued Singh a driver's license.
I can confirm that California gave this individual a license, and it is something that the Department of Transportation has already looked into. I know Secretary Duffy, who's doing a phenomenal job, has spoken on this many times in the crackdown that the Department of Transportation is taking on these licenses that are wrongfully being issued to people who clearly do not deserve to uphold these positions.
Federal officials say California upgraded Singh's commercial license despite clear warnings from Washington to stop issuing non-compliant credentials. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy told Fox News yesterday that California's decision puts lives at risk. Duffy said the tragedy would have never happened if California had followed new federal licensing rules issued last month. The Department of Transportation has now ordered California to identify and revoke all non-compliant commercial licenses within 30 days or risk losing up to $160 million in highway funding.
I'm doing a quick review of their lack of compliance for our rules. I have the ability, and I'm going to pull almost another $160 million. And then I have the ability for California to say, listen, you don't follow any of these rules that keep Americans safe. We're going to revoke your ability to issue a commercial driver's license.
Newsom's office responded saying the federal government approved Singh's federal employment authorization multiple times, and this allowed him to obtain a commercial driver's license in accordance with federal law. The San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office filed charges against Singh on Thursday. Singh remains in jail awaiting arraignment on 3 counts of vehicular manslaughter and driving under the influence. Authorities have not specified which drug was involved. He is scheduled for an arraignment today. Meanwhile, Florida Attorney General James Utmeyer says he's continuing to investigate another deadly crash that killed 3 people in August. Utmeyer confirmed a Fox News report saying the truck driver, another illegal immigrant named Harjinder Singh, who killed 3 people in a crash in Florida in August, failed a written test for his commercial driver's license 10 times before finally receiving a license in Washington state. Utmeyer said the private driving school where Singh took his training course will be hearing from his office soon.
Virginia's state elections are in less than 2 weeks, and there are major races for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, all seats in the House of Delegates, and many local offices across the Commonwealth. Virginia's elections are often considered as early indicators of public opinion on the presidential administration, and we'll be checking which way the wind is blowing in that state now that President Trump's second term is well underway. Joining us for Insight is Virginia voter and senior investigator with Restoration of America, Victoria Manning. Victoria, good to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us. What are the most important issues facing Virginians today?
One of the big issues that is facing Virginians and as well as the rest of America, as you've just been reporting, are illegal alien crimes. And that's something that I've just reported on this week. And I discovered in my own city of Virginia Beach in just the last 2 months. We've had 29 illegal aliens arrested for crimes ranging from theft and DUI to child rape and murder. And this is something that Virginians are very concerned about and are paying a lot of attention to. Governor Youngkin issued an executive order earlier this year directing the Virginia State Police and local law enforcement officials to cooperate with ICE and to get these illegal alien criminals off our streets. So far, since February, over 5,600 illegal alien criminals have been arrested.
And in terms of the election, how are you hoping that this issue might be addressed?
So one big issue is in the House of Delegates. The power currently resides with the Democrats, but it's a very close House of Delegates, and we've got some seats that could flip from Democrat to Republican, including one of those here in Virginia Beach. I reached out to Democrat Delegate Michael Fagans, who represents part of Virginia Beach, because many of these crimes have been taking place in his district. For example, there was an 11-year-old little girl who was raped by an illegal alien. He snuck into her bedroom 3 different times and raped her. He was just convicted just a couple of weeks ago here in Virginia, in Virginia Beach. And, Delegate Fagans is silent on this. He's not speaking up about it. I did speak with his opponent, Tim Anderson, who's running against him, and he's very concerned about these potential sanctuary policies that Governor candidate Abigail Spanberger has said she will implement. She has said she will rescind Governor Youngkin's policy that cooperates with ICE.
And what do you think Virginians are thinking on this topic? Is that going to be enough? Is there enough awareness about it? Is it going to sway them to vote in a particular direction? What are the trends showing at the moment?
Virginians are definitely opposed to sanctuary cities. Majority of the sheriffs across our state do cooperate with ICE, but you do have cities, crime-ridden cities like Richmond, Virginia, who don't cooperate with ICE, and they're harboring these illegal aliens. And I think Virginians are starting to see that, and I do think that it is a factor in the upcoming election and could potentially sway the House of Delegates race to the side of the Republicans.
You've been investigating this topic, and you, as you mentioned, you live right there in the state and have experienced some of the distressing symptoms of the policies that you've described. What do you think, if anything, is missing from the conversation in these elections coming up that may need more space and airtime in the public sphere?
Yeah, so it's happening in everyone's backyard. Virginia Beach is a safe city. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was running some errands not too far from my home, and it was a Saturday morning, and I noticed that the police were there and had taped off a shopping center. And I found out a few hours later that they had that there had been an illegal alien murder that had happened in that parking lot. An illegal alien murdered a man. I was going out to dinner in that shopping center that very evening. So these crimes are just striking close to home. It's happening all across our state. I think the open border policies of the Democrats over the last 4 years are going to continue to impact our nation for years to come. And we do need strong leaders who are going to stand up and take action like Governor Youngkin did in issuing his executive order. And pivoting a little here to the race for the Attorney General and something that's recently shaken up that race, violent texts from the candidate, Jay Jones, recently surfacing, directed at the former Speaker of the House, Todd Gilbert, and his family. Is the controversy spilling over to the governor's race, and how do you see it at this point in time as the election approaches? Yeah, I definitely do think it's spilling over into the governor's race and other races, because not one Democrat has called for him to step down from the race. And I think that is impacting them. I was the first to report recently that there is an open investigation into Jay Jones. He was required to do some community service for that reckless driving ticket that he got in New Kent County. And they are investigating whether or not he appropriately pleaded that community service. I have evidence that perhaps he did not. He completed his community service, part of it, with his own political action committee, which is typically forbidden. And so there is an open investigation into that. So that, in combined with his violent texts, definitely we see Attorney General Jason Miyares speeding ahead in that race. And I do think that that is spilling over into some of the House of Delegates races as well as the governor's race. And any thoughts on Lieutenant Governor and how the governor's race more generally is going? Yeah, so Lieutenant Governor race is really exciting to watch. John Reed, the Republican candidate, has been trying to get his opponent, the Democrat candidate Hashmi, to debate him, and she is just absolutely refusing to debate. He actually held an AI debate a couple of days ago. It's interesting to watch. If you go to his website, you'll see that. Hashmi refused to show up, so he had a debate essentially with a computer. And so that was interesting to watch. Those numbers are very close in that race. Currently, many polls have that race tied. And what will you be watching for in the candidates as Election Day closes in? You know, the candidates, their event schedule is very full. I just saw a schedule for Lieutenant Governor Winsmore Sears, who has a very full schedule, traveling the entire state, trying to meet voters and get out into communities, and really trying to get their base out to make sure that they vote. If they haven't already voted, getting them out. A lot of the early voting satellite sites are opening up this weekend across the state. So I think all of the candidates are going to be focused on getting their voters out to the polls. Well, it's been great to have your insights today. Victoria Manning of Restoration of America. Good to have you with us. Thank you for having me. And we're following the developments involving current and former NBA stars arrested and charged in an illegal gambling and sports betting operation. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has that story.
The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states More than 30 people, including current and former NBA stars, are being charged in 2 overlapping cases involving illegal sports betting and mafia-backed poker games. Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier are among those arrested and charged on Thursday.
Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra.
Authorities say Rozier was part of a conspiracy to profit off of non-public NBA information, including when players plan to sit out or leave a game early. In one instance, while playing for Charlotte in March 2023, prosecutors say Rozier told others that he'd fake an injury and leave a game early, allowing others to win big by betting against his stats.
Most of these bets succeeded, and the intended losses were in the millions of dollars.
Rozier's lawyer, Jim Trusty, calls the charges baseless. He told CNN Sports that his client was cleared by the NBA last year and that prosecutors are, quote, taking the word of spectacularly incredible sources rather than relying on actual evidence of wrongdoing. Meanwhile, Portland head coach Chauncey Billups faces charges in a separate mafia-backed poker rigging operation. Prosecutors say they operated underground poker games using X-ray tables and fake shuffling machines to steal from wealthy players. Victims were allegedly lured in by the chance to play alongside celebrities, but sometimes losing hundreds of thousands of dollars per game.
The so-called face cards included the defendant Chauncey Billups and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach.
Authorities say members of the Italian-American mafia families took cuts of the profits and used extortion and crypto laundering to move the money,
including the gunpoint robbery of a person in order to obtain a rigged shuffling machine and extortions that were perpetrated against victims in order to ensure that they repaid their gambling debts.
Both Billups and Rozier have been placed on leave by their teams, and the NBA says it's reviewing the indictments. They're also calling it a serious matter and saying the integrity of the game remains its top priority. Reporting by Jack Bradley, NTD News.
Thank you, Jack. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy is holding a press conference at Philadelphia International Airport now. Let's tune in.
And they got notice that their paycheck is going to be a big fat zero. And so as I've traveled around to talk to the controllers, there's great frustration. There's anxiety because as any one of you look at the expectation that a paycheck comes in and then you plan for that. And you pay your mortgage, you pay your car payment, you put food on the table. As these controllers come to work, they have to pay for babysitters, child care. There's a whole host of bills that Americans have that they anticipate that paycheck is going to come in so they can meet those bills. And the stress level that our controllers are under right now, I think, is unacceptable. Now, I want to be clear, there'll be a question about, is the system safe? And I would say yes, it is safe, because if we don't have enough controllers, if we have controllers that are more stressed and less able to do the job, we pay close attention to that, and we will reduce the capacity of airplanes taking off and landing, or we will cancel flights. And so you can and very well may see delays in the system, but that's because our priority is you getting from point A to point B and getting there safely. I'm less concerned about you getting there on time. I want you to be safe. And so as we have seen over the course of the shutdown, what we're day 23, 24, we've had different areas of the airspace, different TRACON centers and towers that have had staffing shortages, and then in certain regions of the country, we've seen delays. And it's not been one place, it's been moving throughout the airspace. I've asked our controllers, please show up for work. And those who do show up for work, I thank them. They're great American patriots who come to work every single day knowing that they don't have a paycheck going into their bank account, even though they're providing critical services to the American economy. So I thank them for coming to work, and I encourage them to continue to come to work as we navigate the shutdown. I do think there's a frustration with our controllers that Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, they're all going to get their paychecks. while these men and women who control our skies aren't going to be paid because of the shutdown. I think there's also a frustration that the shutdown is about paying for health care benefits for illegal immigrants. I think our controllers, who again are great Americans, want their Congress to focus on America and Americans, and are asking the question, why is the Congress, why are Senate Democrats focused on health care benefits for illegals? Maybe focus on me and my paycheck and the services that I provide. Open up the government, negotiate, have a conversation, but don't hold them, their paychecks, their families hostage so you can give benefits to illegal migrants. I think that truly is an overarching concern and theme, and I appreciate that NACA doesn't get political. They don't. But what I think you will hear from Nick is they're asking for the government to open. They're asking for everyone to come together, make sure they all get paid, and then take the time to have conversations, to negotiate. But the answer is never shut down the government. The answer is open the government and then have a dialogue, come to a resolution. Try that approach before you actually shut it down and affect people's travel. By the way, I'm also concerned as we're coming into holiday season, we have more people using our airspace, more people taking flights. And when that happens and they see more delays, I want to make sure every American knows I've done all I can by modernizing the airspace, making sure we have more air traffic controllers. But if you're seeing an increase in shutdowns right now, or delays, not shutdowns, more delays, more cancellations, it is because the Democrats won't open the government back up. Before I turn it over to Nick, I want to mention one last thing. Many of you have reported on the fact that we don't have enough air traffic controllers. We're about 2,000 to 3,000 air traffic controllers short in the system. And I have developed a plan to supercharge air traffic controllers, get more of them into the system. It's going to take, a couple years.
For assistance, please visit a ground transportation counter located in each of the baggage claim areas. We want you to be safe.
We do want you to be safe, and the PA system does work at the airport. But we're supercharging air traffic controllers, bringing the best and the brightest, per the direction of President Trump, into this great profession. It takes time to do that. The academy takes time. Then once they're out in one of the facilities, it takes anywhere from 1, 2, sometimes 3 years to get trained up. And so we're getting word back right now from our academy in Oklahoma City that some of our young controllers in the academy and some who have been given spots in the next class of the academy are bailing. They're walking away. They're asking themselves, why do I want to go into a profession where I could work hard and have the potential of not being paid for my services? And so we're seeing that real consequence right now. That affects my ability to continue this surge and get more people, more young, well-trained controllers into our system. And so I want to lay out what's happening, make sure America knows what the consequences are for a foolish shutdown on behalf of illegals, because it has impacts on the traveling public's life as they see more delays in the system. I find that to be unacceptable. I have more value for our controllers that I think we're seeing from the Congress. And again, I would ask our controllers to show up for work, and I would ask Democrats in the Senate to have a vote, open up the government, and then sit down and have a conversation and negotiate. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the chair of NACA, Nick Daniels, who is, again, we don't agree on everything, but we've been good partners just in the sense of trying to take care of the controllers who work so hard on our airspace. So, Nick Daniels.
So, good afternoon. I am Nick Daniels. I'm the proud president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. America's air traffic controllers, we didn't ask to be the focus of this shutdown. Yet, every day, we're carrying the full weight. Every single day, we move over 45,000 aircraft, 3 million passengers. We move tons of cargo that keeps America running, protecting the national airspace system, and even more importantly, people's lives. They're showing up every single day under immense stress, under uncertainty, having to stay focused on performing the day in and day out tasks. And every day that this shutdown drags on with no clear end sight, this affects their focus. And our job as air traffic controllers is to mitigate risk, and it's also to call it out. Air traffic controllers, our job is to communicate for the safety of the flying public. And as this shutdown continues, and air traffic controllers are not paid for the vital work that they do day in and day out, that leads to an unnecessary distraction. And they cannot be 100% focused on their jobs, which makes this system less safe every day that this shutdown continues. Tomorrow will be less safe than today, and as the Secretary said, now we have to figure out how to mitigate that to ensure the safety of every passenger and every plane that flies in our skies. There is no version of this scenario that we have been forced into where an American worker can work 6 days a week, 10 hours in a day, only have 4 days off in a month, and have to deal with their greatest priority, which is taking care of their family, to provide for them, to put gas in a car, to put food on a table, to ensure their kids have shelter, or that they have a level of care while they do go and do the very important job of being an air traffic controller and running America's skies. And the calls have already begun. Air traffic controllers have called and said, I've picked up a side job. I go to my primary job on a day, an evening, or a midnight shift. And when I complete that shift, I now go to a secondary job. I'm driving for Uber. I'm doing DoorDash. I'm doing Instacart. This job is hard enough 5 days a week. We do it 6. We make the impossible look possible every single day. But now, with this shutdown, we're making the impossible impossible for people to continue to live without money. So some of our lowest paid air traffic controllers in this system, whether they're new or they live paycheck to paycheck just like every other American worker, they will instead be focusing instead of focusing on the safety of the American flying public, they're now focusing on what they can't afford to pay. So as each day passes with this shutdown, more of this nation's air traffic controllers will feel more stress. They'll feel more pressure. And it's the opposite of what they should be focused on. We should be focused on how do we move forward, the cusp of taking care of one another. So air traffic controllers, we didn't start a shutdown. We don't end a shutdown. Our elected officials do. And our message is simple. End the shutdown today.
So we'll take questions in a moment, but just when I was talking to the guys in the break room, they're eating in the break room, and they made sure I knew that the food that they were eating had come from the airlines. The airlines know how important air traffic control is to keeping the sky safe and airplanes moving. And so our airlines, who know the financial pressure that our controllers are under and the gratitude for them showing up, they're buying them food. We shouldn't rely on airlines to have to buy lunch and dinner for our controllers because they can't afford it themselves because the Democrats have shut down the government. But those are the things that are happening inside of all of us who work in the airspace, supporting our fellow brothers and sisters who are going through a time of need. And I want to thank the airlines for recognizing that and supporting and being helpful in the small ways that they can. Again, just providing food for our controllers when they're on the job. With that, if you guys have any questions for us, happy to take them, yes.
Could you give us an update as to the number of delays that have been a direct result of air traffic?
So the question is, how many delays have been in relationship to air traffic controller shortages? And so it's different every day. So the average on a day is about 5% of our delays would come from staffing shortages with air traffic controllers. We've gone up as high as 53% of the delays have been because of staffing shortages. And that number moves every single day. Because as I mentioned before, we don't have one facility that's a problem every single day. It might be short one day, but then, it might be Chicago one day, it might be Atlanta another, it might be Newark a different day. And so it changes day by day, and so it's anywhere between that 5%, we've always been above the 5% in the shutdown, but as high as 53% of delays are from the staffing shortages. Yes?
How many of these traffic controllers are calling out because of protests or because they have to do things
You know, I don't have insight into the hearts and minds of the controllers who are calling out sick, but if I listen to the controllers who talk to me, they'll tell me about their own stresses, financial, and how they have to take a second job, how they're frustrated that they're not going to get paid, and some of them might be sick. But I'm working close with Nick. We're driving a message. I want you to show up. I don't want to see Democrat shutdowns drive pain to the American people. I've asked them, please come to work, and I'm grateful for you to come to work. But maybe that'll be a post-mortem we can do on what happened there and why controllers made the choices that they did.
Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, so so this is a Philly issue. I am concerned about SEPTA. When you have a system that's $200 million in the hole, we see delays, but do we see fires? I mean, that's a huge problem, right? On trains and on buses. And what's more concerning is that when you have a fire, we all know what a fire is, but the management will say it is a thermal event. What the hell is a thermal event? It's called a fire. So let's not try to massage what's happening. I've had good interactions with the governor. I've asked the governor to step up and lead, to fix the system, to provide the leadership and the money and the resources and the management to make sure that this system is fully operational and safe for the traveling public. You can't get on a train or a bus and have a fire. That is a flashing light and a siren that significant changes need to be made.
Mr. Secretary.
And that there is Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy in Philadelphia discussing the impact of the government shutdown. He was talking about the stress of the controllers, saying it's unacceptable, though the system is safe, he said. And he says he's done all he can to prepare the system for the holiday season, though the shutdown may affect more issues as the season progresses. We also heard from some of the challenges for air traffic controllers from the National Association of Air Traffic Controllers. The association's president, Nick Daniels, saying each day that passes makes the skies less safe. Both called for an end to the shutdown. Now for your sports news, we're joined by NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, good to have you back on our show. And for your segment, plenty going on right now, but let's start with the biggest news in sports right now at the NBA. Yesterday, authorities arresting a couple members in the league with this whole big gaming probe. I mean, it's quite the drama. Fill us in.
Yeah, the gambling probe. I mean, to me, it's a reminder of why I do not gamble. I mean, these sports betting companies, they're only in business because people lose more money than when they win. I mean, it's just a sad fact. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in business. Now, at the press conference yesterday where they announced all these arrests, they mentioned a player, Jontay Porter. Now, Porter was banned from the NBA for life in 2024 in a gambling scheme around prop bets. Those are those individual bets on individual players. Now, he admitted in court to manipulating his performance in a pair of games, and that was it for him. Now, when they mentioned his name yesterday, they gave a little perspective on, what actually happened. They said the defendants threatened Porter, presumably to manipulate his performance because of his pre-existing gambling debts. Then they used that information, knowing that he was going to manipulate his performance, to place bets on him. When Porter got caught, it cost him his place in the league. I mean, it's a sad tale. I mean, I don't think it's a good thing personally that sports gambling is legal. That's just really one of the reasons why. So this was my little rant against gambling today.
All right.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Consider it heard.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's look at the action on the court. We had a couple of thrilling games last night, including a rematch of NBA Finals.
Yeah, Thunder versus the Pacers. Now, Indiana, of course, still without guard, all-star guard Tyrese Halliburton, who's recovering from that torn Achilles that was suffered in the NBA Finals just a few months ago. They're also without their center, Miles Turner, who signed with Milwaukee in the offseason. Now, despite that, though, they hung tough, took Oklahoma City to double overtime before losing 141-135. It was a high-scoring game. Okay. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a career-high 55 points in the win. win. And by the way, this was the Thunder's second straight double overtime game to start the season. Now, they beat the Rockets in extra time on Tuesday night, so they could be tired by now. In the other game last night, we had a doubleheader. Golden State beat Denver 137-131, another overtime game. Aaron Gordon had a career-high 50 points there. We hit 10 out of 11 three-pointers. Nikola Jokic had yet another triple-double. I mean, the guy's a triple-double machine here, but it was not enough. The Warriors got 42 points from Steph Curry, 21 from Jimmy Butler. So Golden State is now 2-0, off to a good start. It's an 82-game season, but you might as well start off on the right foot, and they definitely are.
Certainly.
Yes, so Golden State 2-0, Thunder 2-0, and
sounds exciting.
NBA still going as planned despite this probe.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think fans are reacting though?
You know, I was thinking about that. You know, this whole arrest thing, they arrested one current player, one current coach, and a former player. You know, at any given time in the league, there's probably 450, 500 players. There's another 100-something coaches, and there's thousands of ex-players. Yeah. So I think really it's a bad week for them, it's a bad day for them, but the sample size is very small. There's only a very few. If this was like 50 current players, they'd probably be freaking out right now. But it's only a couple. I think it's a small bump on the road for the NBA ultimately.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a sign of anything bigger. As you said, there has been some precedent, but I mean, you can't know. But
maybe this is a wake-up call to any other players that could possibly be doing this in any league, you know, because it's illegal in every league.
I mean, is there any way to really clamp down on it apart from punishing wrongdoers? Do you anticipate getting more regulation on the sport or something like that?
You know, the thing is, there's less regulation. You know, sports gambling is now legal. It used to be illegal, and really, both the NBA, really all four sports leagues, I feel, were staying away from having a team in Las Vegas just for that reason. Oh. But now that it's become legal, the NHL has a team there, the NFL has a team there, baseball is moving the athletics there. The NBA is actually the only team, the only of the sports leagues that does not have a franchise in Vegas. So I don't know, they've become a lot more cozy, these sports gambling companies in the recent years too. So
I
mean, it makes sense. You run a commercial about sports gambling site while you're watching a sports game, and that's your audience, you know.
Yeah.
So
as long as I guess while it's legal, that's considered practical.
I know, right? It's considered legal. Doesn't mean it's a good idea to do it.
Noted. All right, shifting gears to baseball. Tonight is game one of the World Series between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. Who's favored to win?
The Dodgers are favored to win. I mean, they've really been favorites to repeat since before the season started. You know, they shored up their one weakness in the offseason. That was their starting pitching. And their biggest acquisition last offseason, Blake Snow, right there. He is starting on the mound for the Dodgers tonight. And this postseason, this guy's been lights out. 3-0 in 3 starts. He has a 0.86 ERA. He's allowed just 2 runs in those 3 games. It is very good. 2 runs in 21 innings. Now, Toronto is going to counter with rookie Trey Yesavage. Now, Yesavage was their first-round pick just a year ago. He started the year in the minor leagues. They didn't actually come up onto the roster until just over a month ago. Now he's starting in the World Series. You got the postseason picture here. Look at this thing here.
Okay.
So finally, to the end here, Dodgers versus Blue Jays. Best of 7 series starting tonight in Toronto, and most people are picking the Dodgers.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Dodgers too.
You are too. All right.
Yes, just for the record, and I have to apologize to some of my friends here, but
okay.
Some people here are Toronto fans.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
We won't hold it against them.
Okay, I won't.
No, you won't. Okay. Good to hear. All right. Thank you so much, Dave.
You're welcome.
All right, and next up, the Dodgers fans across Southern California are showing their pride ahead of the 2025 World Series. In Santa Monica, the city turned blue for a special celebration for the fans. NTD's Christina Corona takes us there.
We're here in Santa Monica on the 3rd Street Promenade. As you can see behind me is a sea of Dodger blue. Fans from all over LA County came out for the first ever We Believe in Blue Dodgers pep rally ahead of our boys in blue heading to the World Series. From live entertainment to special guests and prizes, there's something for every fan to enjoy.
Go Dodgers!
Yay! Go Dodgers!
The event was hosted by the City of Santa Monica and Downtown Santa Monica, Inc., drawing a huge crowd of fans Thursday night. Former Dodger legends Steve Garvey, Eric Karros, and Adrian Gonzalez took the stage and even had the fans singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd.
Eric Karros, the LA Dodgers' all-time home run leader with 270 home runs, talks about Dodgers' current season leader, Shohei Ohtani.
Now, Shohei is truly, I would sit here and say, greatest all-around baseball player to ever don a uniform, to ever play.
The former players also signed autographs and took photos with fans. Fans enjoyed live music, a 360-degree photo booth, an 8-foot-tall Dodger baseball to take pictures with, and even a beer garden, all as excitement builds for Game 1. The Dodgers now have a chance to become baseball's first repeat World Series champions in 25 years, after sweeping the Milwaukee Brewers in the NLCS.
We're going to win 2 years in a row, yes.
So excited. We already knew we have to have faith. We believe in our boys. Best feeling ever.
And when it comes to favorite players, the crowd made it clear.
Ohtani, yeah, and Freddie Freeman.
Shohei Ohtani. Shohei.
Kershaw. That's it. I could care less what everyone says. Whether he wins or loses, he's still a champion.
As night fell, the Santa Monica skyline lit up in Dodger blue, wrapping up a full night of team pride and celebration. Every World Series game will be streamed from the Promenade's entertainment zone, where fans can bring a beach chair, grab a drink, and watch all the action.
Go Dodgers!
So many fans are decked out in Dodger gear, ready to cheer on the Dodgers as they take on the Toronto Blue Jays for Game 1 of the World Series. Reporting from the city of Santa Monica, Christina Corona, NTD News.
Thanks to Christina for that report. Now, very few people like it when a police officer pulls them over, but one man in southwestern Illinois is thanking the officer who issued him a speeding ticket. The man wrote to the Palos Park Police Department to praise the way the officer handled the police stop. The letter reads, "Dear Village of Palos Park, the officer that pulled me over was extremely kind and professional. I am so sorry for speeding and deserve this ticket. We are huge supporters of our men and women in blue. Love all of them." The department was grateful for the letter and said it appreciates it when community members take a moment to recognize the professionalism of its officers.